One of the advantages of working with Blue Sky Bio's implants is that if you're already familiar with a given system, whether it's Nobel Active, Nobel Replace, Zimmer, Straumann, Astra, it's really easy to make the switch because you're very comfortable and familiar with that system. You have the drills, you've placed those implants before. But what if you're new to either implants in general or to Blue Sky Bio and you haven't used any of those specific lines? Which one of the 6 lines of Blue Sky Bio implants would you choose? Which is a great question. So let's go back to the Facebook forums. The overall consensus, hands down, is the BioMax line, which is the Nobel Active compatible system, but with a narrow platform, single platform across all of the different implants. Meaning, if you go up in size, you keep the platform the same. What this does is it simplifies your inventory, makes life so much easier. So people were saying, can you get locators for BioMax? And boom, locators, we got locators. How about scanning? If you want to scan this into CEREC, take a tie-base NBA 4.5, and that's it. That one tie-base will work for all sizes of the BioMax line. And then the advice when it comes to actually placing the BioMax line of implants is to place them just slightly subcrestal to give yourself room to get that emergence profile and the aesthetics and everything looking just right. So if you were hesitant to try out the Blue Sky Bio implants because of the plethora of options, you were just overwhelmed as to where to start, that is the hands down consistent number one choice of clinicians who are placing and restoring these implants in their offices. BioMax by Blue Sky Bio. This is another live episode of the Shared Practices podcast. I'm here in person with Dr. David Bender. David, how's it going?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
So we played Facebook Messenger tag at Dental Success Summit about a month and a half ago.
Right.
Reagan Robertson from PDA, it was like, you have to meet David. Like he's there in Indy. We're doing an event. And I was like, wait, PDA is coming to Indianapolis? Like, how is this happening? Because normally, aren't they out of Texas normally?
They're in Texas. Yeah, that's right. So
she's like, yeah, we're coming to Indy. We're bringing PDA. We're going to condense it into 2 days. So normally it's a 3-day event. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to be a Friday, Saturday, rather than having to take 2 days off work and all of that.
Right.
And, but still going to have all of the names and packing it all in. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, sign me up. How can we do this? And we just never connected. You and I never connected in Arizona because I was running around, you were running around.
Right.
Right. So we just met like 30 minutes ago in person, and we are here in this monster of a facility. Congratulations on this new office.
Well, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
So this is Fishers, Indiana.
Correct.
It's where my wife's from. I'm from a little bit further south in Castleton, which is like the ghetto of Fishers. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah. So, but Fishers has blown up like crazy since I graduated high school in 2004.
It has. It's been the fastest growing city within Hamilton County, which is one of the fastest growing counties in Indiana.
It's amazing. And it's like IKEA and Topgolf and
right.
all these huge names and big companies, and it's a good place to be.
It is. Yeah. I've been here since 2007.
Okay.
My wife and I got married in 2007. I started this practice up in essentially 2008, January of 2008, and I've been here ever since.
So, are you from Indiana?
I grew up in Richmond, Indiana,
okay,
which is right on the Indiana and Ohio border.
Okay.
Mid-state.
Sure.
But I came to Indiana for dental school for undergrad down in Bloomington, and then for dental school in Indianapolis, and have stayed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is your wife from Richmond or wife from here?
No, my wife is from Eastern Hancock, which is just like the east side of Indianapolis,
okay.
Kind of a suburb there.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Okay. So at this facility, so the funniest thing when I walked in today, I was like, blown away. I actually, I'll confess to you, I did a Facebook Live from outside of your facility.
Okay.
And I was just like, look at this practice.
Oh,
it's
funny.
so big. So I walked in and I was like, doesn't Mark Costas and like DSN have something out here? And you're like, yeah, this is it. I was like, oh, this all makes so much more sense.
Yep.
So this is the Midwest Center of the Dental Success Network.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, we have this for our CE events in the Midwest, and then we also have a facility in Scottsdale.
Right. Okay. So it's a dental practice on the first floor.
Correct.
On the second floor is this beautiful facility for lectures and your team meetings. I mean, you just walk upstairs and you guys can have a party anytime up here.
That's right. Yeah.
Beautiful facility, and maybe we'll do a little Facebook Live as we're walking out, and I'll show people kind of the lecture area.
Sure.
But I'm so excited that this exists so that like stuff can come to Indianapolis.
You know, me too, actually.
Yeah.
There's Indianapolis doesn't seem to draw a lot of, bigger name lectures,
right?
And so there's a lot of travel to Chicago or to Nashville or really to Texas and Arizona and
sure.
Places like that. Maybe people don't want to come to Indiana. Maybe that's not the draw, but we're trying to make our name for ourselves to bring some people here, and super excited to bring PDA to our area.
So that's the other thing is that like I haven't really heard PDA on the road that much. Mm-hmm. This is a pretty rare event to get them 2 days. So it's June 14th and 15th.
Correct.
If you are on the Shared Practices Facebook group, we have a link and a little promo code there for a discount off people's registrations. I'm going to be there. And so any listeners of the show who want to come hang out, I don't know what you're doing for your team and with PDA on Friday evening. Is there going to be like a dinner or something agenda baked in? Yeah,
there's a social event that evening, and then however long that goes, and Saturday, I'm sure people will get together as well.
Okay, is there going to be is the social like here in your facility or somewhere else?
I think we're still working out the details on that.
Okay,
yeah.
So no matter what, we'll do a Shared Practices after party if there's the socials here and it winds down, or if we go out to eat, whatever. We'll definitely hang out and
it'll be fun.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite part of conferences and lectures is phenomenal content during the day, like mind blown during the day, mm-hmm. and then real conversations in the evening. Mm-hmm. And when you combine those two things, it's just like I'm a kid in a candy store. Like I love dental events like that.
Yeah, so. Me too. You gain so much, when you are talking to dentists that have varying degrees of experience, and you find out what works for them, what doesn't work, and then how can you tie in the new information that you're learning at that event to help implement that to your practice on Monday. Right?
Yeah. Well, and it's so nice to have someone who's like actually turned around and done this, and they're coming back because they're like, this was so good. Now I've brought team members, mm-hmm. or this is where we struggled to implement this and where I'm trying to improve this, and those real honest stories of like, yeah, this works, and I'm trying to make it work here, and this worked for our practice, this didn't work for our practice. That's the value.
Absolutely. Yeah,
so this is going to be so fun. So I'm excited. Even if no Shared Practices listeners come, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be giddy, and I think we can get a few out. So.
Okay, that'd be fun. Yeah, I mean, we're excited for it. Again, we have room, there's space available, so I'm excited to bring some more involved.
Is there a hotel pretty close here? Is there like block anything? Do you know?
Yeah, so there's 3 hotels about a half a mile away.
Cool.
And I think there's shuttles that can come. We've had shuttles in the past for other events, and it's been really easy to get to.
Pretty convenient.
Yep,
okay, so convenient. They could Uber from the airport over here. It's a long hike.
We're opposite corner of the airport, but once you're here, there's lots to do.
Cool. No, Fishers is a really nice area. Really like being here. So, anyways, that was the original purpose that brought me here today. Now that I know that this is DSN, and that this facility just opened this January, was it?
Yeah, in January.
How many ops is this dental practice downstairs?
So on the first floor we have 28 operatories.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds kind of a random number, but it was designed specifically to get to that number. We have it's a multi-specialty practice where we have a pediatric dentist, we have an orthodontist, we have an oral surgeon that comes in. We have 5 general dentists, and then a number of hygienists and assistants and front office team members. But so we have an ortho and pedo area that they kind of split up throughout the week. There's
kind
4
of that open bay concept.
Yeah, open bay for 4 of the chairs, 3 closed rooms. We have 3 oral surgery / endo suites, and then we have 18 general dentistry rooms, and they're broken up into groupings of 6 so that each dentist that is working, they basically work out of a group of 6.
Okay.
So they have 2 hygienists, they have 2 to 3 assistants, they have a treatment coordinator, and it's almost like it's a practice
within a practice, a little mini team. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So that's 1 doc per 6 chairs?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
And is there any sort of split schedules with that, or is it kind of like 5 days? That's where that doc is, and that's their team, and that's where they come and do their thing.
Yeah. So there's some split schedules.
Okay.
Each doctor is working about 32 hours a week,
Okay.
and some have evening hours on specific days. Some come in a little bit early on specific days. We designed it so that it's a schedule that they're happy with, that they can live with, long term.
Yeah.
When before we moved into the space, we were limited by capacity, just in the number of treatment rooms. And so we would work basically 3 days a week from 8 to 7. And so sometimes, it's nice to work 3 days a week and have 4 days off, but sometimes the 7 o'clock hours are hard to manage,
Right.
Every week,
Yeah.
and so when we came here, we wanted to make sure that we had schedules that our team
Sustainable.
members and our doctors won't have an issue working for the long term.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, and that's a really hard balance of like, you want to provide what the patients want, but you also want to respect that, like, you got a family and you don't want to be here, 3 nights a week or 5 nights a week, whatever
Right.
crazy schedule some people work.
Yeah.
And so it's cool that you've kind of like put a lot of thought into that and baked that into like, okay, we're offering expanded hours, but this isn't like a constant grind that you're going to burn out on in 2 years or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. For sure.
Well, okay. So I guess last question about this facility before we go back to the start
Sure.
and get the whole journey. So how many square foot is this building?
It is 18,000 square feet, so 9,000 per floor. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's a beast for sure.
It's beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
Well done.
Yeah,
I'm
appreciate
sure
it.
this is years of stress and planning. And
Yeah, it's about 3 years of planning this building out, and but it's it was a joy to work on. A lot of excitement, a lot of frustration.
Yeah.
But it's been once now that we're in the building, it's been such a blessing for sure.
okay, cool. So let's go back to the beginning, because like
Sure.
this journey of like from graduation to here, that's an interesting journey. And I think a lot of people, my co-host, Dr. George Hariri, loves the multi-doc model.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like that to a T, multi-specialty, multi-doctor, all of the scale and efficiencies. And also now like the opportunities to build something else on top of this and have DSN here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not for everyone. And it definitely is, I'm sure tested your sanity and all of those things. So how did this all start? When did you graduate from dental school?
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned that already, but walk us from there to here.
Okay.
However long that takes us. If it takes us the whole interview and we don't get to talk about DSN, we'll have to talk about DSN some other time.
No problem. So I graduated in 2002 from the Indiana University School of Dentistry. I worked for Heartland for about 5 years, in various offices, 3 different offices, in fact.
How many offices did Heartland have at that point? Because it seems like that would be kind of early Heartland days.
Yeah, I think there's around 75 offices.
Okay, so they were already pretty big. Man.
Between 50 and 75. And we had, when we graduated, we had a big class that all went through new doctor orientation together and a lot of the CE events. And we were essentially almost doubling. Heartland was doubling about the time that I started with them.
Okay.
So,
did you get to know like Dr. Rick Workman or?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fascinating guy. It's genius. I always enjoyed listening to him speak.
Cool.
But I had I'd say an overall very positive experience with Heartland. I know many people talk about how great their CE events are, and I totally agree with that. I think coming out of dental school, to to be offered all the different levels of CE that they can bring in, it set me off on the right path.
Cool.
I'd say, yeah. But when I first started, I was in a scratch start practice in Kokomo, Indiana, which is
so scratch start Heartland. You were the main doc for them.
I was, yeah,
at that office.
I was.
Kokomo.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it was a slow growing startup. Right?
You're not driving the ship. You're there, and you're just like, okay, feed me patients.
Exactly.
And then they don't all the time.
Right. Okay. I was there for about a year, and then an opening in Anderson, actually, which is maybe 20 minutes from where I was living in Indianapolis. That opened up, and so I worked there for about 2 years, and then across the hall was the third office I worked in Anderson to finish out the 5 years.
So they have 2 offices in Anderson?
They did. They actually had 3 offices at one time, and 2 of them were in the same building just across the hallway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and I guess Heartland offices aren't named the same, so it's not like
you wouldn't know.
Would know or get confused. But
Correct.
But that's really funny, actually.
No, at one point I was in one of the offices and there was a doctor change in the other practice, but I had to cover that other practice. And so I was going back and forth between the hallways and the 2 practices for a couple weeks there. And it was a grind for sure.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
But,
so you got some good reps, some good experience, some good exposure to systems and CE and all those things. So overall positive experience.
Overall positive. I found out what I liked about, I knew that working for Heartland wasn't everything that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right? I wanted to start up a practice. I wanted to become a practice owner. And so while I was at Heartland, I started looking for practices to purchase. I started looking for locations to start up. And at the time, there weren't many practices that were out there that were attractive to me to purchase. Yeah. So I started up.
Okay. And I just want to step back here because we've created our show, our podcast has featured a lot of really early aggressive owners that have bought like within the first couple of years of being out of dental school. And it sounds like you're a very ambitious kind of entrepreneurial dentist, but you had a good 5-year stint in Heartland.
Right.
Was that very angst filled for you in terms of like wanting to get into practice ownership, or kind of how did you balance that journey? Yeah,
I think after the 3rd year in Heartland, I started to become a lot more aggressive in looking for a practice because, I saw the things that I liked about Heartland, and there's some things I didn't like about Heartland, and I just knew that it wasn't for me, and I started to lose some passion. Right, and I didn't want that to become a problem, I guess, for me. But
you didn't want to get frustrated long term.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're looking for 2 years for a practice to acquire, and you can't find one that you really like.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the last year, I found a space to build out, a startup practice, and so it took about a year, from the start to finish until we opened up, and it was all gravy after that. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So this is now, what year is this?
So when I opened up the startup practice, it was essentially January of 2008.
Okay.
Yeah. I had 2 team members and no patients, right? And it was a struggle, a massive struggle. I've mentioned before, but in 2008, so the first year I was open, we collected a total of $144,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had.
When did you open in 2008?
January.
Okay,
yeah.
So
it was a full year.
The full year.
The full year. Yeah, 1 year. It was hard.
That's a rough year.
We were in again, Fishers is a phenomenal community, but we were hidden inside a larger office building.
Yeah. It's not a lot of great drive-by exposure marketing.
Very little drive-by exposure marketing. Just the people in the neighborhood. They became my patients first, and then it started to spread out. But so it was hard. It was much harder. I going from Heartland and reading everything I could about a startup in Dentaltown. I was
going to say, this is like the height of Dentaltown.
Yeah.
But pre-breakaway, a lot of the resources that might exist today.
Right.
So you're figuring out a lot of this stuff on your own. And trial and error and frustration and lost sleep? I mean,
all that. Yeah. we,
could I go back and find some like Dental Town posts of yours from this era? Like that would,
boy, you probably could. Yeah. Like help me, please.
yes. Yeah, no, it'd be cool.
There was, at the time, Dental Town was really popular and there was a lot of startup talk about that. But so I did gain a lot of knowledge. But I think the struggle, and I tell people this all the time, it forced me to be better. Be better at dentistry, be better at offering amenities to patients, be better at providing what patients might want, being better at asking for referrals and all these things, right? That allowed for the growth of the practice.
It's a lot of pressure. And, the only thing you can do with that pressure is get better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, when you're at the bottom, like I maxed out credit cards. I borrowed money from my parents who took out a second on their home.
Wow.
So it was 2008 and 2009. I did everything I could possibly do to keep the doors open.
Timing wise, that's not a great year in retrospect.
Correct. Yeah.
I guess that's why you and David Malloy are such good friends.
Yes.
You guys did the same thing.
No kidding. We struggled together. But,
Vail, Colorado, Fishers, Indiana, startup. You're like, what can go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But no, I mean, I think that journey taught me a lot. And, we started offering evening hours where nobody in the area was doing that. We did, at the time, free whitening for life, and nobody was really doing that. We offered these amenities and these payment options and all these different things that just dental offices weren't doing. It was hard, it wasn't easy to go from, working 8 to 5 Monday through Thursday. Now you're working 7 to 7, sometimes.
And the drastic pay cut.
at no pay. Yeah.
Yeah.
200% overhead, right?
Oh my goodness.
But it's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
No, I just love that because so often people get caught in this comparison game of like, oh, well, this person had a successful startup within 3 months or 6 months. And like sometimes it's a grind. Sometimes it's a multi-year, painful, financially stressful grind. It's stressful in every way, shape, or form.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
So but you can recover and go great places with that. So
right.
What was the moment for you? I guess, do you have any like moments of like the kind of the deep crappy moments before we move on to like the moments when things started to turn? Was there any like specific like memory of like, I hated life or this was just like the worst of it?
Yeah. So in 2008, my wife became pregnant.
Uh-huh.
We didn't have maternity coverage. So my son was born in February 2009. And all this was happening when we were, really financially struggling. I was working part-time in an office for Heartland in 2008. That helped some.
Sure.
I had some outside investments through friends that has helped some too. But I just knew with a son coming, no income really coming from the dental practice, I just had to buckle down and really grind, I was so determined to make this work.
Yeah.
I had offers to buy the practice or buy into the practice at a significant, in my opinion, a significant cost to me, and it would cap the ceiling on practice growth and
sure.
what I could do financially with it. But I did everything I could do to avoid that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so when did things start to turn? What was like the moment of like, okay, actually this is going to work and it's going to be okay?
Yeah, so I'd say mid 2009. So about a year and a half into it, we were starting to gain more traction with our current market. We were doing things that other offices weren't doing, and so that started to. Our patients were spreading the word. They were having good experiences,
sure.
And so we've grown significantly by word of mouth. Right now, we're not even marketing outside, and it's all within word of mouth
wow.
From our patient base. Yeah.
Right now?
Right now.
So you have like next to zero marketing budget other than, like Podium and some other things you
Correct.
plugged in.
Yeah.
That's amazing
Yeah,
for a practice this size.
It's been wonderful. We're going to start marketing specific procedures now that we're in this new facility. We've added a pediatric dentist, so we're going to start marketing pediatrics. We have more capacity to expand our ortho division, so we're going to be marketing some ortho. One of our associates is really into advanced cosmetic dentistry, and so we're going to start doing that as well too. But we have for the last 5 years or so, we haven't done really any outside marketing.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay, so when did you go from? How many chairs was this initial practice?
The initial practice, it was 6 rooms.
Okay.
3 were outfitted at the very beginning, and then as we grew, we added a chair per year.
Sure.
And then in 2015, we expanded into an adjacent space in the old facility and added 5 more treatment rooms. And I thought it would take a while to actually fill that, but within 6 months we were at capacity again.
Yeah,
it was amazing. Like it was, if you build it,
steamroll.
But
yeah. There's another dentist on the other side of town, in like the southwest corner of Indianapolis, and he's building a similar like gigantic practice. Do you know who I'm talking about? We'll have to figure it out off air
I'm not sure who
afterwards.
It is. Yeah.
But it's kind of the same thing where his growth has been the biggest challenge, and you expand, and then you filled that expansion. So when were you going from just you to you plus one doctor and you plus another doctor? How was that trajectory for you?
Yeah, so it was me up until 2011. The fall of 2011, I hired my first associate.
Okay.
And then in 2012, a year later, we hired our second associate. Then in 2014, we hired a third associate. 2015,
when you expanded.
When we expanded,
so you had 3 associates out of 6 ops.
Yes.
How did that work?
So,
and yourself?
Yeah, I would cut back.
Okay.
I went from working originally every day, Monday through Friday, and then I would cut down to 2 days a week, and eventually, about 3.5 years ago, I cut out clinical work altogether.
Okay.
But so in 2015, the first 2 associates bought into the practice, so they're now partners of mine. And then, really each year we've added an associate.
Okay.
But we have one associate that is looking to buy into the practice as well. So we'll kind of continue that run.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So then you expanded 2015. When did you realize, crap, we got to expand again? 2016?
It was about 2016.
Okay.
We filled it. It was.
So at that point, it was 12 ops, or did you add
11
5?
ops?
11 ops. So you added 5. Okay.
Yep.
And so that's where like the vision for this facility was born.
Right. Yeah. 2006. I like the idea of having an office where we could have multiple specialties come in.
Yeah.
And we just didn't have the capacity anymore with 11 ops. So we started thinking about, okay, how can we manage, a practice and bring in, have enough capacity to bring in, an oral surgeon maybe 1 day a week, and a pediatric dentist 3 days a week, and an orthodontist 3 days a week. And how can we do that? And what does it look like? One of the issues that we had in the other facility is we couldn't do same day conversions. We couldn't do, it was difficult. We have a CEREC. It was difficult to do same day crowns because, the length of time for each appointment it just cuts into so much.
You need more chairs
potential.
To do same day crowns.
So it's why we designed the office the way it is right now, where each area, like each general dentist has six treatment rooms.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting to me. I was like, that seems like a little, like some breathing room. Like that seems kind of comfortable. But if you're doing a lot of same day dentistry and waiting for the mill, and you've got one chair in this room, you're cutting a crown in the other room, and someone else in another chair, and then 2 hygienists, I guess that makes sense.
So when I was practicing, I was at my most effective when I had 6 operating rooms, right? So we had 2 hygienists, you'd have 2 to 3 operative columns going, and then you'd have a flex column. So if maybe a hygienist was running behind, you still have a place to put a patient so they're not waiting in the reception area, which is, just a huge pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
We like to stay on time. And, but we had a major capacity issue where, doctors just didn't have very many operatories to work out of.
Yeah.
And so it was difficult.
Well, especially when there was 4 of you out of 6 ops.
4, yeah, it was.
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but that's amazing. That,
it was a lot.
That you had 3 associates in 6 operatories. So, so now each pod has 6 operatories. So how this vision for this new building? I mean, did you buy the land, or it's like this is from the ground up because this is a big operation?
Yeah, so it is. Yeah, we my partners and I bought the land. We own the building. Well, the bank actually, but we're making payments on it.
Right.
So yeah, I've always wanted to get involved in real estate, and this is a great way to do it, right? If you can control what tenant you have in there.
You're renting to yourself. You're a great tenant.
Exactly.
Always make your payments.
It's my favorite tenant. Yeah.
Easy to negotiate with. I mean,
For sure.
It works out.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But and it all worked out too with our lease agreement that when it came up, and it termed in January of 2019. So right when we moved into this new facility.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing that you pulled that off. Like,
yeah.
It's some pressure to get it done in time.
We thought we were going to get it done like maybe 9 months before that. Right? But
okay.
Things happen and delays and so forth. But yeah.
So it worked out.
It all worked out.
So what's your vision now with, you've kind of stepped away from clinical dentistry. You've got this office. You also have there's some other offices. Are we allowed to talk about the other offices?
Sure. Yeah.
I didn't ask beforehand what we are and aren't allowed to.
No, that's fine.
I mean, so we just bought 3 practices, and I personally can't talk about the numbers because the seller knows that I have a podcast and has asked that we don't discuss that. And I respect his wishes.
Sure.
So, but I'm really used to asking people for details that are uncomfortable to share.
Yeah.
So, but we've failed to have the conversation of what we can and can't talk about. So,
that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Where do these other practices come into play? When did you buy these, and how did that work out?
Okay, so the second practice was a scratch start associate driven practice in 2014.
Okay.
And it was.
And where's that? Is that here in Fishers as well?
It's in Greenwood, Indiana, which is maybe 40 minutes away from here.
Okay.
Super expensive to do it that way. I would highly recommend not doing a scratch start associate driven practice.
It seems like a lot of potential to go wrong.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
To do a startup, you got to drive that.
Yes.
Hard for a long time to turn that into what you want it to be.
Yes. So what ended up happening, I mean, again, it's a great location. It's growing. It's doing really well now. But to get to that point, you're paying an associate doctor, you're paying the team members, you're paying everything that you'd have to do. And so when my 2 associates bought into this practice, excuse me, we ended up having to use a lot of that money to pay for the overhead that the startup was costing me. So,
well, at least the bar was set pretty low with your original startup. So as long as they cleared 114 that first year, or what 144?
144. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, come on now.
Sorry, I'm sorry, but as long as it cleared 144, you're like, hey, we're doing better here.
We're golden.
Yeah.
No. The other problem with an associate-driven startup is retention of doctors, right? So we are on our
keeping them busy and happy.
Yeah.
With a startup schedule,
it's hard to do.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're on our 3rd dentist, and we have a phenomenal dentist in there right now. She is actually looking to buy into the practice, cool. and I'm excited for that. I'd rather having different models. I guess I'd much rather grow with partners than the associate route.
No, and that's where, with my podcast, with these 3 practices, I'd rather own part of something that's growing and has support than all of something that's failing or struggling or
exactly.
You can't drive it on your own.
For sure.
And I love the model of a great practice with a 50-50 associate partner. And because if you're not going to be practicing in that practice, for me, like I'm building up this network where my long-term intent is that I'm going to be kind of doing specialty work and practicing in these practices.
Yep.
But if someone that model, because that's how Heartland did it. So I can understand why you'd be like, well, Heartland did startups and puts associates in them.
It was
like,
my experience. Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
Let's do it.
I can do that too.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure Heartland had some patches with these startups and associates.
Exactly. And they don't talk about that as much.
No. I mean, I'm sure a lot of crap hit the fan.
Yeah.
So if you were to do it differently, say that you were to expand to another location and do a startup, would you do like a partner startup from the beginning?
Yeah, I would. I would look really hard at doing a startup again. You know, I would have to be an ideal location, just because I think there's more opportunities available now for acquisitions.
Okay.
Maybe my eyes are more open to acquisitions than they used to be. But
so would you say you've swung from being a very startup guy to being like you know what, if I can acquire something, great, let's do that.
Yeah. And so that my third practice is an acquisition with a partner. It happened to be an associate from this practice that he and I partnered together to buy this third practice.
Cool.
Yeah. And that's been, I mean, there's challenges with that practice for sure, but it's a much smoother
than going from
transition.
0 to 100% with an associate that may or may not be happy at the time.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. So is there a fourth one or is there 3?
That's it.
Okay. I just, no, I mean, just a massive practice and 2 others, you know.
Yeah.
It's extremely impressive. But I love these like little examples of kind of how you can expand and scale and grow, and it's not a straight line, and there's a lot of bumps.
Right.
But what's the vision? So where are you going from here?
Yeah, so I think the vision is to optimize this practice that we're in right now. I mean, there's still a lot that can be done within this practice. And I do I like the idea of growing into more locations with partners and acquisitions. Cool. That's the ultimate vision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're both looking for practices in the Indianapolis area to expand to.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. We're just like staring across the table now like, okay. Well, maybe we'll just like, okay, if I find one that I don't like or you like.
There you go. There's enough.
There's plenty to go around.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now I think we have a little bit of time. Let's do a DSN teaser.
Okay.
And then I think DSN deserves its own episode in the future.
Yeah.
We can come back and do that.
That sounds great.
So where does DSN fit into all of this? And also the question that I had walking in is like, okay, so what is DSN again? Because DSN has taken a few forms and has shifted a little bit and changed. So if someone has no clue what DSN is or stands for or how it started, walk us through the story of DSN.
Yeah, so DSN is really it's for dentists by dentists, right? And we stay strong with that. It's a community of dentists where we have more than just a place to interact and discuss things. We have online CE events. We have online CE. We have live CE events. We have vendor discounts. We have supply discounts. We have maybe 35 faculty members that are experts in their fields, and they're discussing these topics that surround us as a dentist, right? And it's not just for your solo dentist. It's not for multi-practice dentists. It's not even for associates. It's for everybody. You know, anyone can get or gain some knowledge from these amazing faculty members. But so what will happen? We'll have these live CE events in the Scottsdale facility. We'll have them here in this Indy facility, and it's just a place to learn, a place to share, and you don't have in some of the social media groups and maybe even Dental Town in the past.
Fires.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have these hidden agendas where people can be anonymous, and they can push their agenda and start to cause these fights or whatever you see in some of these posts.
two of my good friends and classmates, Danielle and Austin Davis, have recently done a phenomenal startup. They've documented this on Dentaltown as well as on the Shared Practices Facebook page. And as of their latest update on our page, they were well on their way to breaking $100,000 in collections with a 40% overhead. And this is 3 months into a new practice. One of the companies that they have zero reservations recommending is Design Ergonomics. Des Ergo helped them fit 8 operatories comfortably into their 2,600 square foot practice. So their average square foot per operatory, when you include everything else, is 325 square foot per operatory, rather than the industry 500 square foot per operatory. This has allowed them to keep their overhead low. They have a beautiful office, and they couldn't be happier. If you want Design Ergonomics help to maximize your square footage while maintaining a fantastic flow and layout that is both economical and efficient, go to desergo.com, DESERGO.com, and use the promo code DESIGN today to get $500 off your blocking diagram and floor plan. So let me see if I can summarize what it is back to you right now. And because now I feel like in my mind, I feel like I've crystallized it, and I might be missing something. There might be more to it that I'm not getting. So DSN, in my mind, fits into 3 circles right now. There's an online community that's exclusive to dentists. It is a paid community so that it's not just anyone who can show up and anonymously post or, be representing X, Y, and Z company and kind of sneakily in there. So they have to be a dentist. They're paying members, so they actually care about being there. And that's a community where people can go to get support, share stories, cases, learn from each other, business, whatever they want to learn. Then there's also a CE arm of it that is live CE and online CE with this network of faculty. You've got these locations. So there's the CE side of things, and then there's also kind of this discount supplier portion of it. So those 3 things together, is there something else? Did I miss anything?
No, I think you summarized it very well.
Okay, cool. No, I'm just excited. I finally understand DSN. And now I need to sign up because I'm here in Indianapolis. So
there you go.
Just like, where's the form? I'm looking around for a form here. So that's awesome. Where did this come from? How did this all start? What's the story?
Yeah, so I was
in the 5-minute version.
5-minute version.
And then we can talk about it more.
Yeah. So it started with I'd say Tim McNamara.
Okay.
He had this idea when he was in dental school, really, and I met him and Dave Maloney through a Dentaltown mastermind group. We kind of clicked.
The original Practice on Fire.
The Practice on Fire group, yeah.
I found, so I was interviewing David Maloney. I think it was like after the interview. This is like season 1 of my podcast. And he tells me about this group.
Yeah.
How many people were in this original group?
About 30 people.
Yeah, as we said, like 25, 30.
Yeah.
And there was like an online portion of this on Dentaltown.
Right.
And then you guys also would meet in person.
Right.
And was there like some criteria? Like you had to be doing X, Y, and Z, or is it like invite only?
So it was invite only.
Okay.
And Graham Dursley is the one who started this group, and it's remarkable how he was able to put together such a phenomenal group. Honestly.
High caliber.
Yeah.
I was just so jealous as David Maloney. I was like, how do I get there? And he's like, you don't. He's like, it's closed.
It's closed.
And I was like, oh, dang it. And I was like, fine, I'll start the next generation of this.
Do it, yeah.
That was the intent. So,
yeah.
So that you get this amazing group of 30 like-minded, entrepreneurial, helpful, good people. And David said that it's like some of his best friends. He's probably talking about you and Tim at the time when I was talking to him about this.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah, we would meet. We'd have these learning events and socializing events.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful group. But so Dave, Tim, and I kind of clicked, and Tim shared his idea for what is now DSN. It's taken a couple different forms, but ultimately it turned into this. And Mark Casas is involved, and he's brought a ton to the table. He's such a talented leader, and he has so many resources and
He's got a lot of scale already.
A lot of scale, yeah.
And throws great events. I mean,
for sure.
Between DSS and Voices of Dentistry.
Yeah.
Those, I mean, he throws both of those events, and they're my two hands down favorite events in dentistry.
Oh, they're phenomenal, aren't they? Yeah.
I feel like, I'm sorry, Howard, but they're what, like Townie Meeting.
Yeah.
You know, when I first went to Townie Meeting, I was like, wow, like I like know these people, and like getting to talk and meet to these people that I interacted with online. It was just like the coolest experience. And then he does that with Voices of Dentistry and DSS.
Right.
Does DSN have a conference?
So right now, we don't have a conference, but,
Okay.
but we focus on these individual faculty CE events. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And how much of the CE, and maybe we'll have time to talk about the majority of this real quick. We've got about 8 minutes. How much of the CE is clinical versus business? You know, like what's the skew to the CE, and how much of it is online versus in person? Do you have a sense for all of that?
Yeah, so we have almost 100 hours of online CE.
Okay.
And it ranges from, it runs a gamut. You know, I mean, there's clinical CE, there's business CE. I'd say maybe, I haven't looked recently, maybe 70-30 business to clinical.
A little bit more business. That was kind of my impression, was that it trended a little bit, but still like a lot of clinical offerings on the table as
Absolutely.
well. Okay.
Yeah. Same with live events. You know, we have clinical live events. There's a grafting course coming up, I think in July.
Cool.
Here in this facility. Yeah.
Okay. What kind of grafting do you know?
Soft tissue grafting.
Okay.
I just saw this, but
we'll look it up afterwards, because now I'm like, every time there's something
there, you go.
I want to know.
We'll give you the schedule of events coming up.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, so there'll be clinical, there'll be business administration ideas and so forth.
Okay, cool. And then the online communities. So one of the things that I would also get in arguments with at Dental Town was, I was like, you guys need to restructure. There's like this email chain of me, and like I was a student intern at Dental Town. And so I have like, they're like, okay, go away, guy. Like, you know, I kind of came in, I was like, oh, you should market to students, and you should do this. And I was like, there's so much potential here. And I loved Dental Town, and I wanted it to be more accessible. And one of my critiques was that the forums were organized alphabetically. And I don't know why, but that just made me really upset, because I was like, there's so much good stuff here, but it's kind of hard to navigate. And if you come to Dental Town and you're brand new, you're a dental student, and people are like, yeah, there's forums, and you like click on the forum list, and it was just like this, 40 forums, and there wasn't any like really good structure other than like, okay, I think, and you'd have to like read through every forum category. And over time you got familiar with it all, and you kind of knew where to go and who hung out in which circles, but it wasn't very intuitive.
Wasn't user friendly.
It wasn't as user friendly as it could have been. And you know, they'd built this platform, and it's hard to rehaul and revamp a whole platform. I love the platform you guys use. It's like a Facebook on steroids. It's like combining the best of forum and Facebook groups, so that you have the organization and the structure, but it feels and looks like Facebook.
Yeah. So people are used to it. Yeah. Right? And they know how to navigate, and they know how to make a post, or how to, scroll through and get to the information they want to get to.
Okay, cool. Do you know what that platform's called?
Yeah, it's called Workplace.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And someone showed me that, and I just like did a double take, because it was someone showing me DSSN or DSN. And I was like, wait, that's not Facebook? I mean, it's like a white label Facebook almost.
Yeah. So it's like a Facebook for businesses, if you think of it that way. Yeah.
And that's where having that structure and the infrastructure and kind of the organization, but also active contributing members, like there's this perfect balance of having a space to collaborate and talk about these things, but also the ability to go back and look at previous people's questions, because I'm sorry, your question probably has been asked before. Everyone thinks they're unique and special, but like this startup question, or this acquisition question, or this, team management question has probably come up a few times. And rather than rehashing it, you can go back and search and read and learn from all these different perspectives. And that's like that was the beauty of Dentaltown was that, no, you're good. That was the beauty of Dentaltown was that you could get lost for hours reading these threads.
Yeah, I did.
and it was like the best procrastination ever.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Because it was like the people that you kind of had this like connection with, even though they didn't know who you were half the time.
Right.
But you knew them, and you kind of like there was the social aspect to it, and there was the information, and the fact that you guys have kind of modernized this and built this into a little bit more of a committed, transparent group,
right,
is really cool.
Yeah.
So the forums and then the discounts. So I wanted to ask a little bit more about the discounts.
Sure.
So we talked about the CE, we talked about the forums. Like, is it with certain suppliers, or like how did you guys organize these discounts, and where have you seen members like save the most or really get the most out of those relationships that you guys have negotiated?
Yeah, so we have about 40 vendors involved
Cool.
In DSN. I mean, vendors anywhere from Reese Harper's involved, right?
Awesome.
So I know you've talked to him. But
I love Reese.
Yeah, he's fantastic. So you have accountants, you have labs, you have Yappies involved. I mean, a ton of different companies. And then supplies, we have a relationship with Henry Schein. So, I mean, they're everywhere.
Okay.
Right? I mean, anybody can get a hold of a Henry Schein rep. But so we have negotiated discounts with them.
Cool. Well, and it also sounds like you guys have a filter for like, you're not just negotiating with everyone and anyone.
Right.
It's like, no, we want to partner with these people because they provide great services and we've vetted them and we know who they are, rather than just whoring yourself out to the whole dental industry.
Exactly. Sorry. Well, no, that's
the crass way to say it.
Yeah. And we get no kickbacks. It's
okay.
DSN gets zero kickbacks from all the vendors that we work with. We pass the savings on to our members.
Cool.
We feel strongly about that.
I will be transparent. Shared Practices occasionally tries to get kickbacks. Usually people don't use our promo code. So this is okay. Anytime we mention a promo code in the show notes, you guys, if you want to support the show, just go click on that link specifically. Otherwise we get no credit. No, I'm just kidding. But you guys have a paid membership. And so it's that's where, I like that you're transparent. I'm a big fan of transparency, where you kind of know what's the relationship here. Mm-hmm. Because that just allows people to make an informed decision, and it's nice to just be above board about that. So
it is nice. And then if we find that a particular vendor is not supporting the community and the membership, then we have others waiting in the wings that are wanting to get involved.
Well, right? And I'm sure people would talk about on the platform, on Workspace, on DSN, if like, hey, has anyone had problems with this, or and
right.
That's going to get their attention.
It will. Absolutely. Yeah. They got to perform.
Yeah.
Right?
What's the Dan Pink in To Sell Is Human talks about how it used to go from buyer beware, caveat, vendedor. No. Emptor, caveat, emptor. Uh-huh. Now he says it's caveat vendedor, which is seller beware. Uh-huh. Because of online reviews, because of your reputation these days.
Right.
You can't screw people over. You can't like hold back information and that other people wish they'd known, because they're going to find out. They're going to talk bad about you.
Yep.
So
blow up on them.
Yeah. No, especially in a tight knit community like that.
Right.
So that kind of protects the herd.
It does.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, there will be a link in the show notes for the event here at your beautiful facility, DSN in Indianapolis.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I would love to see anyone. We will hang out, Shared Practices folks. We'll crash your party and then we'll go have our own. I'm not a drinker. I'm not a partier. So it's a very party light, but we'll have a lot of fun. So this was Sounds great. Fun to be here, do this interview. Thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. This has been an amazing interview with Dr. David Bender. We'll talk with you next time on the Shared Practices podcast.